All right, exercise, it's good for you, builds muscle, burns body fat. It definitely contributes to longevity and better health. But what about athletic training? What about workouts that help you develop athletic skill? Does everybody need to include this, or only people who want to play sports on the weekend? We're going to talk about that today. Athletic training. Does everybody need to do it? Let's do it.
Only if you're cool.
Yeah.
I know Justin's going to say. I feel like you caught me running yesterday or something.
This was actually...
or should I say attempting to run.
Hey, this was inspired by the story you told me, because I went through... Tell everybody what you were saying, because I had similar experience the other day.
Okay, admittedly, right? And we go through this all the time where we have good conversation and dialogue about something, and I go, you know what, like, I've neglected that long enough, or that's something I need to include in my routine. And there's been a whole host of things since we've been doing this show for 10 years, from windmills to specific mobility drills to better assessments to deeper, I mean, you name it. We all go through this, right? And lately, a lot of the talk around just endurance, stamina, and just athleticism. And it's really been an afterthought in my training for quite some time, and for sure the longest period of my life. And I'm like, I need to incorporate. Now, through the last experience of so many injuries, I'm like, okay, I need to ease my way in. So I'm not like, I'm going to go out and go run some miles. Right? Again, I'm like, I'm going to go for a walk on the treadmill tomorrow or yesterday, right?
Turn into a trot.
And then I'm going to jog a few times just to get reacclimated and start the adaptation process, right?
Yep.
And so basically I did a 30-minute walk, and at every, 7-minute mark or so, I did a nice little 30-second to a minute long, jog that turned into a little bit faster jog. I wouldn't call it a sprint, but somewhere in between. And
prancing.
I mean, I never in my life have I ever found myself concentrating so much on running, to the point where I had David Weck.
Yeah,
he does the
I'm gonna get you some of those.
I kid you not, I was doing it in my head.
Step.
And watching my feet, just concentrating, and every step felt like I had concrete shoes on, and I was like, oh my God. How wild is that, and how quickly you can feel like you're a healthy, fit person, because I still would consider myself that. Maybe not peak shape me, but definitely I still strength train. I'm still stronger than the average guy. Right. I still keep my body fat percentage in check, and eat a good diet, exercise regularly, and you consider fit. In my head, because I come from an athletic background as a kid, and even in my young adulthood, I still think of myself that way. Yeah. But then the reality is, I go to do something like that, and I'm like, oh no, I completely have lost my
There's years in between. It's just like, it's really wild. Yeah.
Atrophies like crazy.
You don't have that skill right now. It's crazy.
You hit the nail on the head, Justin. I fall into this trap all the time. What we've done, or what a lot of us do, and I say us, is like people who work out. So, and what does that look like for a lot of people? You go to the gym, you work out a few days a week, you take your steps. So you've got good health and fitness, in the sense of you've got some stamina, you've got some strength, and you feel good. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But what we've done is we've divorced that from skill. Mm-hmm. So I have decent stamina and I have decent strength, but because I stopped practicing this particular movement pattern, I lost the skill. And this is what I fall into all the time. So, you may have the stamina to run a mile, but if you don't practice running, you lose the ability to run. Yeah. And what it feels like, you explained it very well. Awkward. Yeah. Feels like, what am I doing?
You got the leg strength, you got the power. You can actually recruit the muscle in terms of being able to generate that type of movement, but actually, having that all sequenced correctly and fire at the right timing and all that requires practice, dedication.
Well, it's so funny to think that, in my mid 40s, I can, very easily, even decondition me, can get underneath a barbell back squat and put 225 on my back and organize my muscles to move that weight with no problem, no fear, no awkwardness whatsoever. But doing something as fundamental as running, just my own body weight and for a short period of time, now feels awkward, wild to feel that transition in my life and realize wow, And I know we talked about this with Joe DeFranco. I remember we had a great conversation with him about things like jump boxes and things, and why we should do that even as we age. And it was a great comment. Another one of those times where I went on a kick of doing stuff like that afterwards. But to feel awkward running, I'm not sure I can recall another moment in my life where I took off to run and genuinely felt awkward. I mean, I feel like that was such an ingrained skill for so many decades in my life.
Yeah.
That you go to do it and you go, oh, wow.
This is, I think, the key why everybody should train, quote unquote, just oversimplified like an athlete. I think there are fundamental skills you just don't want your body to forget.
Right.
Because what happens, because we look at muscle, we think, okay, muscle is the machinery that causes movement, which is true. But muscle, the way that it functions is controlled by your central nervous system and your brain. And when you stop practicing a movement pattern or a skill, your brain atrophies or eliminates that skill. Just like if you stop moving a muscle, it would atrophy. If I stopped using my legs, my legs would get weak. If I stopped practicing walking, I could strength train all the time. I could have strong legs. If I stopped walking for 10 years, but worked out my legs, when I went to go walk 10 years from now, it would feel strange and awkward. So the question is, what skills do you want to maintain for the rest of your life? I think that's the question you need to ask yourself, and then implement some of that training in your workout routine. And I can think of a few. That I personally now feel awkward doing because I don't practice them. Running is one of them.
Yeah.
I think jumping is definitely another one.
Yeah.
Throwing is another one. And I go to throw things with my kid, and I used to have a great arm when I was a teenager in my 20s. I could whip a ball. I got a terrible arm now.
Dude, I just went through that in a hack, which, again, if we're going to talk about this as like maintaining a skill, probably not, a great solution. But because my son got into lacrosse, you have a stick. And like I always used to throw the ball for my dogs. And then my arm, after a while, oh my God, my shoulder would kill me. And so I started throwing it with this netted stick, and it's just like goes way further, way less effort. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much better.
Yeah. Put me out of my misery, though. You see me throw something like this, It's like,
short arm it,
push the ball forward. Oh God,
Lord.
Put me out of my misery. Like
I
that.
think
it's so true.
I think it's important though. Like maybe right. They say you never forget how to ride a bike. That's actually not true. Yeah, you might not fall off, but if you haven't ridden a bike in a long time, you know how it feels when you get back on one. I think it's important to practice all these different things because your body forgets how to do them, and forgetting how to jump and losing the skill of jumping is strange.
Yeah.
Like you go to jump and you suddenly hit the ground, and it's almost like your legs are stiff before you hit the ground. It's like tong. It's like, oh, what is going on? Having kids, by the way, having little kids at my age, because I had my second set of children in older age. It really reveals things to me. Like, and I do the dad hack thing all the time, which a lot of dads do because that's, we like to make things easier. But if I'm chasing them on the playground, it's like, well, I'm going to be a zombie because I know if I run, I'm going to pretend to be a zombie because they walked and they're slow. Because if I run, it starts to feel quite strange. So implementing these things, I literally had this thought, Adam. I'm like, I'm going to start practicing some of these skills, not for fitness. It's not necessarily because I need more endurance and stamina.
Well, over the years, I've been a lot more methodical about if it's been a long period of time, like how I start implementing and reintroducing a lot of the movements. And again, I had mentioned when I was at practice and I was just like in the bleachers kind of watching my son do his thing, like I just started to work on my extension and I'm like doing heel raises and I'm moving laterally and I'm rotating and twisting all these mobility type movements, like very slow, methodical, just getting myself like organized in these poses and everything, because it's like I don't recognize those like as quickly as I used to. It's not something that's like familiar anymore. When it's not familiar, it's like the reintroduction and it's like owning that position. But then now we can start adding acceleration, because if you just jump to acceleration, oh my God.
Oh, that's the greatest realization that I've had, is that for the longest time, because it's not like there hasn't been periods of time in my past, in my say 20s and 30s, where maybe I didn't run for a little bit, or I didn't play basketball for a little bit, or I didn't do one of these things. But then I could literally just reintroduce it and just, maybe not go 100% intensity, but reintroduce it. And then I'm like right back, where I have to be very methodical about it. To your point, it's like even the thought yesterday was like, I'm not going to just get on the treadmill and just see how far I can run. I was like, I'm going to walk, and then I'm going to have these little 30-second. I started with 30-second, then they turn into like 1 minute bouts of a pretty easy jog, slight run, and definitely felt like I could do more, but I'm like, I haven't done any of this. I'm going to just let me see what my body feels like tomorrow, because I could feel just the impact even.
The best evidence of what we're talking about is when you look at the medical community knows this, when they're dealing with older populations, they know that when they take somebody who's, let's say, starting to lose their balance, that when they move them to a cane, that they start to progressively get worse with their balance. They know, like, once we go here,
there's no
your ability to walk without it's going to get much worse.
It's a new appendage that they're leaning on.
And then when we go from there, we're going to go to a walker. And then we know once we go to a walker, it's going to get even worse. And so what the thought process used to be was, let's use this as soon as possible. Now when you talk to healthcare professionals, they're like, let's see if we can figure out a way to keep you from using this, because I know once you use this, you're going to decline quite quickly. One of my favorite populations to look at for this is in Okinawa. In Okinawa, they have an aging population, and they have really, really good health over there. It's one of those areas that we call blue zones. I know that's contested, but people do very well there in old age. And in many of the traditional homes in Okinawa, there is no
you
chairs.
just sit on the ground, right?
There's no chairs.
Yeah.
And so people in their 90s are still in traditional Japanese Okinawan home. The dining table's on the floor, and you sit on the floor. And so these people into their 90s are still every meal sitting on the floor and standing up. Yeah. As a result, they stay much more mobile and they maintain that ability. By the way, if you're in your 40s and you haven't sat on the floor in a long time, you know how uncomfortable it is to suddenly have to sit on the floor. You've lost that ability. Today's program giveaway is MAPS Anabolic. If you want to enter to win, leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. Also, MAPS GLP-1 is half off. This is a program for people using a GLP-1 like Ozempic or Wegovy. You want to maximize fat loss and keep the muscle? Go to mapsglp1.com. Use the code GLP50 for the discount. Back to the show.
All right, real quick, if you love us like we love you, why not show it by rocking one of our shirts, hats, mugs, or training gear over at mypumpstore.com. I'm talking right now. Hit pause, head on over to mypumpstore.com. That's it. Enjoy the rest of the show.
This is why one of my favorite things to introduce to clients that were even in their 40s was just simply like Turkish get-ups, or teaching them how to get up with no hands from the floor. I'd have that conversation with my clients. Like, listen, of all the things, I'm going to teach you all kinds of stuff that's going to be good for you, but don't lose this skill. Like, just challenge yourself occasionally to do this, because once it's gone and you can't do it, so hard to put the work in to get that back. It's not that it's impossible, but like the analogy with the cane, it's like once you cross over and you become dependent on not the ability to do those things like that. This is my worry about the last Quah we did when I brought up the AI legs,
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, a tool like that for somebody who struggles, needs a cane, and then you could just bolt on this
immediate dependency.
I mean, and then the atrophy of that will be even faster. I mean, it's literally taking all the strength out of an effort out of moving the legs, and just, okay, I'll just defer to this thing. And so, as crazy as it may sound, the future, I bet we see a ton of people
that lose the ability to walk.
That will just have these exoskeletons walking around. And what we'll see is it'll at first be very advanced age, and then before you know it, it'll be people younger and younger and younger.
Well, it's just important to understand that there's fitness, so strength, mobility, stamina, and then there's skill, and they're not necessarily the same. They definitely communicate with each other, crossover. Right? Yeah, you got to have fit. Being strong and mobile and having stamina contributes greatly to your ability to do different skills. So I'm not saying that that's not important, but practicing those skills is just as important. In other words, if you go to the gym to maintain your fitness and health, and you do, let's say you pick from 20 exercises and it rotates, and that's a lot. That's a lot of strength training. Most people don't even go through 20 strength training exercises. But let's say you did that and you always did that. Over time, your abilities would shrink to where those abilities that you practice, those 20 exercises, and things similar to that are all you can really do well. Yep. Anything that's outside of that, you start to lose that ability. Yeah. This is where the muscle-bound myth came from, where you get bodybuilders who are very muscular, who don't have good movement, because they train
They're just sagittal plane beings.
very specific. So now to the person who's just interested, because we may be, someone may be listening who's fit, wants to look good, and they're 30. This is not really a concern of theirs right now. One thing to keep in mind is you're losing these skills will eventually impede your ability to develop your body, because your body's only ever going to be as good as it needs to be, and it'll actually challenge it. In fact, it'll start to bump up against what you practice because you lose these other abilities. In other words, not being able to run, does it impact your ability to squat, even if you practice squats? Eventually it will. Eventually it will, because there is some crossover there. So yeah, this for me is a topic I've been thinking about, because I'm like, I want to improve my stamina. And so I immediately went to Fitness Mind, which is what's the easiest thing I can do to build stamina?
Yeah,
like
more reps.
Or either more reps, or I could get on like a bike, right? I could use like an assault bike.
Right.
Easy.
Some a little more low impact.
Yeah, easy. Get on the drive. I'm going to get lots of stamina. But then I'm like, you know what? It's not going to help me
run better.
Yeah.
You'll
Gotcha.
lose that skill.
Yeah, I need to practice. I need to be able to practice running. And now, so somebody who's working out a lot, they're like, how do I add this to my routine? I'm already training really hard. I don't want competing signals. I don't want this and that. You don't do them to work out. You do them just to practice the skills.
Yeah.
So the running isn't like I'm going for a run to work out.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to practice running
I mean, I'll
a
tell
little
you
bit
right
every day
now,
just to
I'll
practice
tell you
the
my
skill.
goal. My goal and the method behind the madness of like how I started that yesterday was like 100%. I could have done more, but again, it's like I haven't. So why? So I'll start with just those little. It's a 30-minute walk with these little intermittent 1-minute jogs. And then it'll get to a place where those 1-minute jogs get pretty easy. And then I'll start pairing them into 2-minute jogs. And then eventually what it'll be is I'll start to work on my mile time. And the first time I run the mile, it'll be, a slow mile, probably let it be 9-10 minutes to finish the mile. And then I'll try and increase that. And then over the course of, I don't know, a couple months, I'll have got my mile time down. And then as long as I, maybe bi-weekly interrupt or start one of my workouts with a 1 mile run, and maintain that, I should be able to maintain a decent mile time by doing that. And then I should be able to keep that skill. Like that's the thought process.
So you're basically training it like, I'm not doing this to fatigue. I'm just trying to be comfortable.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not even coming close to fatigue. Like even that, I was making fun of myself, like going like how awkward it was and this and that. But I mean, I know like my discipline, my ability to push through something, and like I totally could have kept going. In fact, what I'm most proud about is I actually feel really good today. I mean, I trained legs and then I went for a walk / jog run, whatever, and I feel good.
It was appropriate.
Yeah, it was appropriate.
Yeah.
And so to me, and that's where I've gotten with my, gauging my intensity and how much I push is like, I want to feel that I did it, and I want to start to send the signal and adapt to getting better at it. But I also don't want to like pay for it the next day where I'm like, oh God, it's like, then I'm just, why? If I'm trying to improve the skill, then I want to take it before fatigue. I want to always stay below that. And I'd rather edge on the side of caution first than go like, I could definitely do more, and push that. And as crazy as that sounds, it's actually difficult to do, especially from a bunch of guys that work out or say they come from an athletic background. Is the competitor in me is like, let's see what I can do mile time right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, that's not necessary. So yesterday was actually for me a really big accomplishment, not in what I did, but what I didn't do. Because past me would have got inspired to do something like that, and then I would have gotten after it right away, which is just ridiculous. That's not how you approach it.
What this makes me think of too is, when I would train a lot of clients towards the back half of my career, I started training people that like in the 60s and above. I had a decent amount of clients, many of them referred by doctors that I trained. And when you see, and people have elderly people in the family know what I'm talking about. If you ever see someone in the age group who's deconditioned, average, let's say the average 67-year-old or 70-year-old, if you've ever seen them fall, you see their body stiffen up, they can't catch themselves, and they tip over.
Like it locks up.
They tip over like if you cut a tree and it just goes over. What's happened is they've lost the skill of being able to react.
Yeah.
And so it's literally their body doesn't know what to do, and so they just lock up and boom, hit the ground. And so this is an important thing to practice, and it's easier. I'll say this to someone young listening to right now. It's easier to practice it a little bit now and not have to go back and regain it. So you're better off just practicing a little bit than you are waiting until you're like, I need to get.
Have you guys had moments? I mean, part of this motivation for me too is not just the conversation we had, but not that long ago, I had a situation where I had just got the cars detailed and I'm parking in my garage, and my garage floor is epoxied. So it's very sleek, and just from the wet tires going on there, it left this light residue. And when I stepped out of the car, I slipped and I caught myself. But the way I caught myself was like, it felt like I was
whiplash,
and it was like this close that could have went bad, and because of my reaction time. Where when I was 20, I would have been like, oh, no big deal. Where it was like it like startled me enough to be like, that could have went really bad. Just getting out of my car, like that's embarrassing. And so there's this part of me that's like, and I don't practice that. I'm not challenging stability and things like that enough, and I will lose that skill if I'm not intentional about programming.
I told you that happened to me this day. I was coming downstairs, I had my socks on, and we have a wood floor, and I slipped and I went into the other room. So my wife was down the hall. All she saw me was slipping, going to the other room. She thought
Is this like risky business?
Right, yeah, dude. She saw no, it didn't look cool. She thought I hit the deck. Oh my God, because the way I felt. Now I caught myself.
Yeah.
In fact, I was proud that I caught myself, because the way it felt is like what you're saying was like, that was miraculous.
Yeah. That's like I could a little bit more to the left or whatever.
Bro, it would have been bad.
But it makes you go like, oh, this is how these happen.
That's right.
This is it's like, and I think it's very eye opening when I consider myself a health or fitness person.
This is what it looks like. Fitness is the foundation. And strength is the foundation of that. So when you're somebody who needs to build your balance, if you really do have balance issues, like if I had somebody who's 7 years old with balance issues, I would start with strength. Getting stronger improves balance. So that's the base. So the base is fitness. Above that is skill. Yeah. So you can have lots of fitness and poor skill and actually cause yourself problems. That's what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, no.
You don't want to divorce the two, in other words.
No, we went to a concert, not a concert, but a comedy show 2 nights ago, and picked my buddy up who's young, fit, strong like us, squats heavy, deadlifts heavy, does all things, and threw his back out doing some little bullshit thing.
What was he doing?
Nothing. He was doing something so like he picked
Did you make fun of him?
he picked like one of his toys up from his kids or something, and he locked up and seized up.
Oh, that sucks.
And he's like, frustrated because
he's fit.
Yeah, he's fit and he's strong. Like, I mean, he's not an out of shape guy, but again, and I was explaining this, we're at an age now where there are very specific skills that you got to incorporate into your training that you just don't think about. And
totally.
This is an example of like windmills and stability training. It's like, it seems so whatever. It's like, I can barbell back squat 315.
That's not going to make my biceps look better.
Yeah, and I'm already strong. Why do I need to work? But it's like, if you don't do that, then sometimes and I remember that training clients, it was always like that. I remember like this was the next, level of me being a better trainer, was recognizing how important it was that I programmed stuff like this into their training programs, because I would get these people really fit looking,
yes,
and strong,
and they'd pick up a shampoo,
and then they would get injured, and then I'm like, man, that's on me, you know what I'm saying? Like my client, and they would look at you like baffled, like, I can't believe I hurt my back picking up the shampoo bottle or reaching back.
You feel like an idiot.
Yeah, it's like, shame on me for not training those skills.
All right, speaking of dads and working out and stuff, did you see the study that studied how a father's fitness level or exercise habits impacts his sperm, which then impacts his children, his future children?
Really?
Did you guys see this? Okay, so this was a huge study, and what they did,
buff sperm.
Yes. So researchers from Nanjing University found that the offspring of exercised fathers had superior endurance and metabolic profiles. This was published in Cell Metabolism. It showed that these benefits persisted even when the offspring themselves didn't exercise.
So, okay, I brought this up to you when you first had a kid with Jessica.
Yeah.
And I know you attributed like all the great genetics over to Jessica, and because of our genetics are similar. But you have done so much for so long. I think this is just another study that supports what I think is that, because I can't remember what I shared with you when I had read something that basically said the same thing, that our training actually starts to impact like our genes that
Programs
we
the cell.
Yeah, it reprograms it. And so 20-year-old me having a kid is the outcome is going to be different than 40-year-old, trained Adam for 20 years having a kid. And I think it made a difference.
It does. So it makes sense.
It's trippy to think about that.
It makes sense if your sperm and the egg is preparing the baby for what environment they may encounter. So you're
look at breast milk, how that changes based on chemistry of like what's necessary or whatever the environments, that they're in. The body's just adaptive and smart in that regard.
So in other words, your sperm is like, hey, you're going to acquire a certain level of strength and endurance because of this environment that you're being brought into. Is essentially the theory.
Yeah.
But that's what it was a big study too. And it showed these epigenetic changes in a father's sperm.
Sense.
I mean, I think that's so cool. I think that's even more inspiring for moms and dads, or
it's motivational.
Like couples that haven't had their kid yet.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
let's work out.
Yeah, put the work in because
put it in.
It's gonna pay. Yeah, it matters. It makes a difference.
Totally.
And so that much more motivation. Totally. I have something I read that like blew my mind. I told Dylan to pull up the top 10 most expensive movies. And I used movies because I don't know what else we spend that kind of money on creating. Movies are up there with some of the most expensive.
Well, I'll say already that GTA 3 is going to supersede all these. But
That's what I'm going to bring.
Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto. Okay, so give me the top 3 movies.
I just know that from reading, like it crushed Avatar and all these other ones.
Bro, it's okay that you could combine. Okay, you saw the number one.
Yeah, they're like $500 million.
$500 million, and you're like, oh my God,
for a movie.
How sad is that we spend that much money on that? Yeah. We spent add up all 3 of the top 3 movies more on a video game.
So it's in the billions.
Like $1.4 or $2 billion, somewhere in that range.
Insane.
For a game.
For a video game.
You know what's crazy about that?
I didn't even know you could spend that much money on a video game.
You know what's crazy about that? Just for people who, it's like, this is the world. We live in such a broken world, right? Like where human ingenuity and resources get pulled into creating the most creative form of entertainment. So we spent $1.2 or $3 billion and used some incredibly bright minds for this, not to solve issues that could actually, really help people. I know some people are like, it helps me, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Well, it's especially when, obviously we've had some video game talks on here that have been controversial where we piss people off and we talk about the downstream effects of being addicted to video game playing, pornography and stuff like that. And I don't know if I categorize video games in the same category as pornography and the detriments of it. But it definitely, from personal experience, know how much of my life that it took up in my 20s. And I tell you, and I've admitted this on the show, I proudly used to say in my 20s, like, I'm going to be somebody who makes good money and has a family and I game with my buddies. Like, that was like, I proudly said that.
That's so Adam.
And I did. And like very, very staunch about that and matter of fact, I remember carrying this chip because in my 20s, I was already making really good money, had my house.
So you proved it.
Yes. Right. And I was already gaming. My buddies and I, we gamed all weekend. You know what I'm saying? Every night when I came home from work, I gamed for 2 hours. Like, it was like, it's like, it ain't going. I made this excuse that it was such a fun part of my life that why would I ever pull something like that out? And I remember I had an older friend of mine that we were really close. He was about 6-7 years older than me, and he used to always kind of razz me like, hey, when are you gonna give up the video games, bro? And I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna give that. He's like, come on, dude. At one point, you need to do that. And really, what connected it for me was just like, whatever goals and aspirations, other goals and aspirations you have in your life, that it's taking from that.
Yeah.
So whether it's 30 minutes, 1 hour, or 2 hours, you're applying to that. Replace whatever said goal you claim, whether that is building a big company or building a family or this or that. It's like you are taking that time can be applied to those things. And so your video game playing better be more important than all those if that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I think
a big part of it is when we're occupying ourselves either with entertainment or especially entertainment, right? We're occupying ourselves with entertainment of some form, whether it's video games or social media or movies. Not saying that there isn't any value in there, but it's so uncomfortable to not be occupied because then you start to ask yourself the hard questions. What am I doing? What am I doing in my life? Who am I? You start to think about things that are uncomfortable. And so we actually prevent ourselves from having those thoughts.
Yeah.
Like he brought to you.
Yeah.
Which is like, how much time are you spending on this, and what could you be spending that time on?
Yeah. What books could I be reading about being a better father? What books could I be reading about being a better business owner? I mean, there's so many.
Or working, or I like to hang out with my buddies. Could you do that in a way that's
fostering more time with your relationships?
Yes.
Like doing things in your community. There's so many things you could accomplish, and I think that's the thing. It's just like it ends up a distraction. That's something you got to compete with,
and also admitting the addictive properties that come with it too. I mean, I still I'll have moments where I've watched a certain amount of TV for the week. I feel gross, and I'll there'll be nights where like Katrina will be like, "Oh, you want to watch something?" Like, no, I just leave the TV off tonight. Like, I already feel like we've watched a lot of TV, and where when it really hits me is because of how good the addictive properties are and how many choices we have and how much they loop you in. When I'm watching things that I know just are like, it's not even that good.
Yeah.
It's like if I catch myself watching, I'm like, what am I like? It's one thing if you got like, I love movies. I think that can be a great time for a couple to do that. And I'm not, so this is not me shitting on all movies or anything like that, or the fact that we watch any TV. Because I think there is some value to that and the relationship bonding. I love to cuddle up with my son and watch a good Lego movie. Sure. Like, so I'm not, but I also know what it's like for it to start with that, and then it's another show, and it's another thing, and something, and then before long, it's become a habit that I just do that thing after this other thing, and then it gets extended longer, and then before you know it, like I've already watched all the things that are of any value and good, and now I'm going down the rabbit hole of stuff that's just like mind numbing. Junk food.
I gotta say that's the biggest change. Well, not the biggest. That's a big change in my life. Is I watch almost none, which is wild. I used to watch stuff all the time. I watch almost nothing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was it a rip off the Band-Aid or was it a scale down for you?
You know, it was just, there were things that I wanted to do instead. So I wanted to play with the kids. I didn't want to watch something while the kids are sitting here because it's not appropriate for them. So then I'm not going to watch it then. Yeah. And then, you know what? I'd rather go to bed at a good time so I could wake up in the morning and be ready for work and work out. Or if I'm with my wife at night, sometimes I'll watch something, but sometimes we just sit there and talk, and it takes away from other things that I found. So I just little by little have lost the. Now, if I was home alone, I could definitely get caught in it.
Oh yeah,
I could definitely get caught in it because sitting alone with your thoughts, like nobody wants to do that.
Yeah,
you know. So.
Oh, it'd be really hard because it's pretty easy for me to make that decision. I mean, it's very clear. There's been times where I make that call where we're not going to watch anything, and even if Katrina and I have nothing that we have pressing to talk about, if we just are sitting in bed awake next to each other, within 5 minutes all of a sudden great conversation happens. Some of the best dialogue, best conversations will happen, and that's so fruitful and so fulfilling and so good for the relationship. And so it's very easy for me to connect that dot for that reason. If I didn't have that, that would be difficult. It would be difficult for me to sit there as a young man without my partner or kid to do that and go like, well, I'm not really doing anything.
It's better to fill it with something else that you find more
audio
valuable.
books or growth, something that grows you. Yeah. I mean, that would be the case. That would be if I was still a single 40-year-old in pursuit of being better and growth, that would be the thing I would wrestle with, I'd say. Just like I did with the video games, I'd be like, okay, I could go play video games for 2 hours, but I also could go read an audiobook that's going to make me smarter. Or
you know, it's a new thing that I think would be a value that used to be a default that now is no longer a default. I think for younger people who don't have kids and other responsibilities, which then it's easier to see, like this is more important, I think is hanging out with each other more often without saying we're going to do this. We're not going to play this video game. We're just going to hang out with each other. No. I don't think people do that as much, at least based on the data where you see how less often people go out and how much more lonely people feel. That might be a good replacement. So if you're listening to this and, all right, what do I do? Organize it with your friends. Hey guys, we're going to get together and we're going to read this book or we're going to discuss these topics every week.
Yeah, I just saw a thing that Gen Z calls, they
board games are back.
They called meditation like raw dogging boardom. It's like it's so hard.
Have you heard people talk about raw dogging flying on an airplane?
Yeah.
No music, no nothing. Just sit on the flight.
Pictures and videos of them staring at the back of the seat.
It's comical, but I have to say it is cool that it's caused enough of the pendulum to swing one way that there's this effort being put forth by the younger generation to be like, okay, I'm gonna tough this boredom out.
Well, it's funny. I was meaning to bring this up, but like, there's this guy. He's got a Kickstarter, and he's he's trying to address doom scrolling. And so the thing is, the phone's so accessible, you end up like just looking at things and then you're in this like total doom scroll. And so he was like trying to make some kind of barrier to this. And so he started with like some case, and it was like, maybe I could make it with some weight, or it's like uncomfortable feeling. And he put like textures on it. And then he got to the point where he actually built out, like, it almost looks like one of those 80s, like big enough to where it was
like a brick phone.
Yeah, it was like a brick phone, but it had like those, it was like, your Wolf of Wall Street size, but it was actually 8 pounds.
So in order to get on your phone, you got to lift 8 pounds.
You got to lift 8 pounds, and it's like iron,
That might be something.
It's uncomfortable.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous, but in this landscape, it like makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like people have to take like drastic measures just to stop you from, getting into your addictive behavioral patterns.
I mean, it's so funny because that's so ridiculous and so inconvenient to make, because the whole point of making phones,
you can't carry it in your pocket.
Sleeker and sleeker, so you can fit it in your pocket.
Yeah, you just he's like, I just end up leaving it somewhere. I'll go look at it, and then I just leave it. And
so
he's
heavy.
like, it was so like, and so he loves it because it's like effective, but it's just so like absurd.
It is absurd.
You can just make your phone grayscale. That'll make you use it less.
Yeah.
That's actual studies on that.
I've done that.
Yeah, you switch the colors and it just makes it
works.
less.
Grayscale,
It totally works.
turn off your, you could also lock yourself out of your own apps. You can see how much you're
My wife does that.
using Instagram, this, that, and then, hey, you get 30 minutes, and then afterwards it shuts you off.
Yeah.
I want mine to shock the shit out of me. That's all.
Hey,
too long.
speaking of retro stuff, so we were talking earlier about how the use of nicotine has gone up, but it's not
Cigarettes.
it's
in the form of
it's like Zyn
patches
or patches, and there's data to show nicotine's it's an interesting stimulant, right? It's one of the few. I can't actually think of another stimulant that does this. It's a stimulant that also has relaxing properties, so it's very interesting.
Yeah,
Seems to have some health benefits for promoting brain health. It is addictive, so there's that negative of it. It's about It's about as addictive as caffeine is. But now you're seeing a lot of people are using like Zyn, for example, or these pouches because they like the effects. And like any addictive property, you need a higher dose.
So removed from like any, obviously with cigarettes had all these other excess amount of like chemicals and things attached to that, which lead to the cancers. Just on its own, like there's no long-term
Not really.
study.
No. Yeah, there is, and it's not really bad for you.
Yeah.
It's just addictive, and it's got these. That's the one bad thing. But here's my question to you guys: how long do you think, or do you think it's ever going to get retro to where everybody's using that and they start going back to cigarettes? Do you guys ever think that? Do you guys think that might be something that's cool again?
I think there's a rebellious nature to us all.
Yeah,
and
I
I
do
think that I could already see some people. I actually saw it was funny. Like there was a video of these people. They were like podcasting. They just started smoking cigarettes. It's like, kind of like an FU to because nobody does it anymore.
Oh, I made the quote. I told you guys that'd be hella funny.
That'd be funny
if we did that. You know what I'm saying? Just no one said anything. Would just light up.
Can you imagine like the reaction we'd get?
Oh yeah, how appalled everybody would be.
Or what about chewing tobacco? Because maybe do you think people will go from the Zyn back to chewing tobacco?
That's an interesting. Like, what do we have? What do we have an example of that? That is an addictive thing that we know maybe wasn't the healthiest thing for us. That's fallen out of favor and then come back. Is there an example of that with like any other drugs or any other addictive substances that were popular, say in the 60s or 70s, fell out of favor, then came back? Typically what happens is
Quaaludes. Just kidding. You can't do that.
I mean,
they don't make those anymore.
Different. Would Quaalude fall in the category of opiates? Are they similar?
I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, you don't know.
I know that they stopped making them. I knew that because after Wolf of Wall Street, I was like, "Where do you get Quaaludes from?" I looked it up.
I mean, were they prescribed by like therapists or like what was?
I don't know. Google
the use of
look
them.
up Quaaludes
because we watched the mushroom train do that. So mushrooms are hot and heavy in the 60s and 70s. Kind of fell out of favor for a while.
Right, psychedelics.
I mean, that's a huge
research
thing,
came back
again. So
Dude, you know what's weird about while he looks up Quaaludes, you know what's interesting about that is I'm listening to these. So spiritual talk and spirituality now seems to be like a very common thing people are talking about again. And to be more specific, the demonic world versus the angelic world, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And there was these, I've listened now to a couple people talk about, and I've heard other people say this by the way, and I knew this before. When you have people who take high doses of psychedelics, the theory is it's a hallucination created by your own mind. But then the question was always, why are people
Why are
seeing
there shared experiences?
why are they seeing the same things? Like, have you guys heard of the elves working on machinery from people taking ayahuasca? Have you heard these stories before?
Yeah.
Why are they seeing the same?
Yeah.
Even salvia, there's been a lot of reports of like a passenger or like somebody, in the same room with you.
So this one guy comes on and he's saying that he's calling himself a whistleblower, but I don't know if he's real or not. But he's saying that government agencies have been studying these things because they do believe that you are speaking to another dimension and that you are talking to other potential beings because of these.
Okay, so trip off this. There's been a recent study, I guess, that was here, like in our backyard somewhere in the Silicon Valley, where it's a startup company where they're testing people's dreams and like getting them in a lucid dream state. And they're actually able to connect them through their dream.
Whoa.
What?
So they could dream together?
So they could dream together, somehow connected through like...
No way.
And they wouldn't reveal the technology completely, but it was definitely, they were hooked up to some kind of device.
So Quaaludes were a brand name for a methaqualone, a central nervous system depressant. They don't make them anymore. So sorry, guys.
So it's not quite an opiate, but it's something.
No, it's its own thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's. I think all of that is fascinating because I have I've used psychedelics before, not a lot, never to the point where I saw things like that, but I did.
You haven't?
Not to where I saw beings and stuff. I've definitely seen distorted reality.
Highlighted colors and
but I never went because I was always afraid.
What do they call that when you start seeing like faces in like clouds and like
I saw some of that, but that's really just like distorting the cloud itself.
Yeah, but I've done that with Katrina and seen the same thing.
Yes.
So that's happened.
Yes, but but people will talk about taking like super high doses of things and that you're gone. They call it loss of ego, right? They try to paint it as this spiritual experience or whatever. And it's really interesting when you hear these people. There was a book called, God, what was it called? Something about DMT. It was
it wasn't the Windows one?
No, was his name Rick Strauss? Something like that. He actually studied DMT and gave it to people intravenously, because he believed that there was something more to it, that it wasn't just
the spirit molecule.
That's it. The spirit molecule. Yeah, good. That's great. Have you read that?
Just parts of it. I haven't read the whole thing.
Yeah. So
I've never heard of that
it's
one.
really
Right
DMT,
there.
the spirit molecule. That's it. What's the author's name? Did I get Rick? Oh, Strassman. How did I remember that?
Did you get that right?
I did.
Oh my God.
I did.
Random.
Yeah. And so I don't know.
You just had a shared experience.
Could it be, now here's the deal. Could it be that your, our consciousness is such a difficult thing to explain anyway. Could it be that that's the portal to the other dimensions?
Well, yeah. Or I mean, one of the other theories is that we're just we're all receiving. Like
the brain is a big receiver.
That we're just a big receiver, and so you're tapping into. Think of it as another radio station or something like that.
I mean, there's definitely something to the whole spirit realm of it, because I mean, any culture back in the day, that was how they were able to receive a lot of information, is they went to these use like these types of peyote or whatever kind of substance was available. And it's like,
it's talked about,
it opens something up.
It's talked about in the Bible. It actually tells, it warns you against, I think they refer to it as pharmacopoeia, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It warns you against these things.
Using it. Well, I mean, I've
it's a very
seen
powerful
firsthand a lot of people that it starts off as this really cool thing that they have a breakthrough or helps, and then it tends to spiral. It turns into chasing something, and then it's more and more and more, and then it kind of spirals out of control, and it's like you lose that person in it, so you get lost in it.
So I'm going to change directions, Adam. I want to, because we're going to talk about Vuori today.
I wanted to bring it up.
So what's the sweatpants you've been raving about?
When we went to, you and I did commercials there, our ads with them.
Which, by the way, it's so awkward, bro.
I'm so glad.
They filmed me walking in.
I feel like I've gotten better at it.
You know what I started doing? I started just being just talking.
That's okay. So they typically send us like a script.
I hate acting. It just
so they typically send us like a script of things that they want us to look at and talk about. And I was with Eli last time, and
Eli and Danny were with us.
Yeah, and I go, I'm gonna shop for Katrina. That's real. Like I shop for her all the time. She loves Vuori. I love Vuori. can you just let me do my thing? And then you can just, he's like, perfect. I'll just follow you and you do your thing. And so this last time was probably my favorite because it was authentic. I hadn't been in the shop in a long time, saw stuff that I hadn't seen, bought her stuff. And so I think that's the way to go. And that didn't bother me. I'm like you, tell me I need to act a certain way. And it was just not my jam, right? But one of the things I saw, I'm shopping for her, but I found stuff for myself. Yeah. So
Adam,
they can
I'm gonna say it's like 4 times.
Yeah, 2 for her, 3 for me. No, they have these new sweatpants. I think they're called Seaside sweatpants.
I want to see them.
That are now my favorite. Before that, I had a pair of Nike did a collaboration with Stussy. And they were like, you guys have seen me wear them. I wore them on my series. They're baggy sweats that I really like, just super thick and comfortable. And they have a new line out called Seaside Sweats, and they are thick and comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're so good.
Now the weather's changing.
I know. I'm so pumped.
And they're gray.
Yeah, they're
what they say about gray.
Yeah, those ones are like I think they call them Seaside because they're like this kind of sand color. So those are they have like a sand, a gray. Well, there's all the ones. There's all the colors right there. Yeah. What are the colors?
Those are nice.
I love them.
Oh, I'm gonna get them.
I love them. I'm like I wear them all the time now.
What is it with my wife says I wore
because you can see.
Yeah, I know that, but it's white gray.
I don't know. Maybe it's some shadowing effect.
I wore gray in the series I'm doing.
Yeah.
One of the episodes I wore gray, and right away she noticed. She's like, "Oh, you wore gray for that? You shouldn't." I'm like, "What? I don't understand what these."
Yeah, I told you I didn't know about it until Katrina and I got together.
For women,
it's definitely a girl. But I mean, there's truth to it though. If you look at when you're in gray, when you look at
what are you looking at? Adam's like, I can tell.
Yeah, when you pay attention the next time you wear gray sweats versus when you wear any other color, and it just the way it outlines everything is just different. The shadowing effect, or the way gray lays material wise, it just hits different. You know what I'm saying? So,
it hits different. Hey, speaking of hitting different, Justin, I got a study, dude, on neck size. So neck size.
Great transition.
I love it.
Why me?
So because
I got a thick neck.
Because dude. Because we talk about this. This simple neck measurement might reveal hidden heart risks.
Oh God, correlation to heart risks?
Dude. Neck size. So neck size is proving to be a powerful indicator of hidden health risks. Larger neck circumferences are associated with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and sleep apnea.
Oh, there you go, buddy.
Even among those with normal weight. Listen, even among those with normal weight.
No.
Now, yes. Listen, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Everybody knows this. Not everybody.
Having blessed calves isn't everything it's meant to have to be, buddy. Because with big calves come big necks. You ever met a guy who's got big calves and a big neck?
Whoa.
They're connected, dog.
Is it really?
Yes.
Is neck size?
Show me a guy with big calves that has a small neck.
Calves.
Whoa.
They're connected.
We should all measure our necks just to see what the difference is. I have a decent size for my head.
Bro,
I always thought I was just carrying a helmet around
4 years
forever.
has grown like 4 inches. You didn't look like that before.
And it changed. I think it changes.
It changed, bro. It was not like that before.
Like your voice gets lower too as a result. I think all that.
Well, I mean, people who strength train heavily as their neck gets bigger, or athletes, sleep apnea goes up because all the muscles and all the thick, all around the neck,
thick tongue.
Yeah, that's
another byproduct.
That's the other thing.
Some benefits to that though.
Yeah.
So.
Also, I went on Butcher Box today. I took some pictures. Because
some pictures?
I did of some of the products.
Here's you showing people your meat?
No.
Yeah. Speaking of meat.
Gray sweats. No, I went on there because
meat to meat.
You know, Butcher Box, they deliver really high quality meats to your door, right? So if you want good red meat, you want good, chicken,
fish,
pork, like high quality, good prices, like that's great. But a lot of this you prepare. And so they have options that are like kind of pre-made easy. Mm-hmm. For example, they have pasture-raised smash burgers that are already made that are brisket and chuck.
That.
Yeah, so brisket and chuck blend, and they're ready to go. You just throw them in the grill. Yes. They also have crate-free bacon and cheese egg bites. You know those egg bites you always get from Starbucks?
Yeah.
So
I've tried those. We've tried those. My kids love them. Yeah,
I didn't know they had smash burgers already ready.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Let's go.
They're
always adding things, man.
They also have, and this is great for like people who meal prep. They have skinless chicken breasts that are individually wrapped. So you can take them out individually wrapped,
smart.
defrost one, whatever, and it's just ready to go and prepare it and just makes meal prep so much easier.
Yeah, big time.
So there's a lot of things that they have to offer, not just your.
They've really evolved. They've continued to just grow and evolve. I would imagine, are they the largest?
That's a good question.
Do you know anybody who competes at their level?
With meat delivery?
Yes, with grass-fed meat delivery. I'm sure there's bigger companies that do meat in general, but not grass-fed. That was what was so different about them. Because there's companies that have been around for like a long time. That do. I can't think of that brand. There's a brand.
Well, they've grown tremendously since we've been with them.
Yeah,
tremendously.
Yeah, way better. The old school one was like Omaha Steaks. Or something,
that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking like that. That still exists, right?
Yeah. Some kid with your door. To sell it to you.
Or you remember like the Swanson guy, the Swanson truck that comes around?
Oh, yeah.
That's still a thing
Swanson.
too.
Does it still exist?
You guys remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
All the frozen food.
No, but I think it's great. I think it's great for people who are looking for like faster, easier meal prep or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And they also have stuff that's already prepared. You just have to warm up. So you can get stuff like that as well. So anyway, I have another study I want to bring up on processed food and the brain. So this is crazy. This is out of the University of Helsinki. A massive brain imaging study of 30,000 people has uncovered striking connections between eating ultra-processed foods and measurable changes in brain structure.
Oh, man.
So they can actually look at brain imaging and see differences in brain structure, physical brain structure, that they have connected to the consumption of ultra-processed foods.
Wow. Now,
the theory behind this, which I would agree, is that these ultra-processed foods are so engineered to be hyper palatable. They actually have, I know I'm going to say this and sound crazy, but I don't have a better way of explaining it, kind of drug-like effects on the brain. And so the brain actually models itself from these kinds of foods like it would to other substances, which is why if you eat ultra-processed foods and then whole foods taste so bland.
It's like an fMRI or something will show all these highlighted areas
So
of
if
your
you
brain.
eat these foods all the time, it becomes harder to go off of them. And then when you go off of them, there's a withdrawal period.
Yeah.
And the brain has to kind of change itself.
I mean, my experience with clients and my own personal experience, it seems to be about 30 days.
It's about a month, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where Whole 30 came from. I think that's part of it.
I'm curious. I mean, I don't remember. We don't know if we asked her that when we talked to her way back when, if there was like some science to support the 30-day mark. I don't know if it was just catchy for marketing reasons. But I do recall most clients that I had to help through that process and also going through it myself. It's about 30 days. I mean, I think I noticed I noticed it got easier after about 2 weeks, but about 30 days hit. And then what's really cool.
That's where you got to hold on and just.
Oh, yeah. But by the time you hit day 30, it actually, in my opinion, becomes significantly easier. And you start to actually crave the healthy food, which is such a cool place to be in. Coming from somebody who ate a lot of processed junk food and stuff like that for most of his life. So to make that switch and then go there and then and then once you've done that for such a long period of time, even when you have the occasional processed food and you eat out because you're traveling or those things, like, man, I think you guys are the same way. Like, I crave a home cooked meal. Like when we had a Disneyland trip a couple weeks ago, eating in hotels, eating on the road, doing the things like that. A lot of just stuff that obviously processed and on the go. And man, I can't wait to get home and eat.
Have a steak and rice.
Have a whole cooked. I mean, and that wasn't like that in my 20s. Like all you craved was the more of the fast food. Where now it's been the other way for so long, you actually tend to crave the really good stuff.
Who had the swearing study? I want to hear the study on swearing. Was that you, Justin?
That's Justin.
Was that? Do you remember?
Yeah. Okay. So it was like over 70,000 conversations or something online where people were interacting and they just kind of evaluated it. And again, this is like a correlation study. So it's not like a substantial, like hard evidence, but they were associating it with people that were more truthful and authentic, swore more. And I use that as a nice little counter to your earlier trying to
justify
our justification for saying fuck.
You guys want to know what's weird about that? Thanks for throwing that in.
Yeah, no problem.
So I told you guys I want to stop swearing, and I'm sure you guys have noticed I swear way less.
Yep.
And what's weird is the less I do it, the more vulgar it feels if I do, and the less weird I feel. Because at first it felt weird. So instead of saying like, instead of saying an F-bomb, I'd be like, oh fudge. And at first it felt like so hokey. I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds so stupid. But now it's feeling much more natural as a way through my language. So so far it's been somewhat successful. My wife totally failing. Sorry, honey.
Harder for her, huh?
So hard.
Interesting.
So hard.
I never realized that Jessica had such a truck driver mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, she drops. Oh, yeah, dude. All the time. She's going to be so mad when she hears this. But she's trying. But, oh, yeah, dude. And you know what she does? She'll replace instead of saying, so with the kids, she'll say, hey, get the effing thing. She'll say effing. I'm like, that's almost the same thing. Honey.
Yeah.
If you hear the kids repeat that.
That's funny. That's how she would use it.
Yeah.
That's like a real truck driver mouth, dude. That's a real truck driver. Like, I'm definitely guilty of punctuating.
She's got some gangster in her.
Yeah, that's definitely some gangster. There's some hood right there for sure. Hey, grab me the fucking remote over there, please.
Yeah.
She's like, whoa, dude.
And I'm like, if you hear the kids repeat that, does that sound that much better?
Yeah, no.
It's funny because for me, it's like this is the outlet. I have no problem not swearing anywhere else, but like for some reason, if I'm around my friends, especially,
do you cuss around? You don't cuss around your kids.
I don't cuss around Max at all. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah, I don't find it hard either. It is this. If I'm in a conversation with my, in fact, I'm actually
a lot more vulnerable.
I'm actually very sensitive to other people cussing around my son. I don't like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like even if you're one of my buddies and we're all talking and you start getting that way, like oh yeah. Like, hey, my son's like an earshot away. Calm down, like, and they're my friends. They're always, oh, sorry, bro. Like saying like, it's always my buddy who doesn't have a kid or someone who hasn't had a kid in a long time. And so everyone's always respectful, but I'm super mindful of it around children. Like it's not hard for me to shift that when I'm around kids. But when I'm in this environment and we're having dialogue and
if I'm with my buddies,
I feel like it punctuates stories sometimes.
I don't mind when you guys curse.
And I think there has been times, I definitely admit, when we first started the podcast, and I was nervous.
Everything we said was
like, that's nervous energy. Like, and I think that's not tasteful. That seems it makes you look dumb. That you can't find a proper words you insert a swear word.
I got to tell you guys, who were we? We were with somebody and we were talking about the show, and I was bragging on my wife and saying like how she's like my number one fan. She's listened to every single episode.
Is that still today?
And every episode.
Still.
Only interview she doesn't listen to. She'll listen to an interview if she likes who we're interviewing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's every single Quah, every single episode we've done. Except, so she corrected me. She's like, I haven't listened to every episode. I said, what do you mean? She goes, when I first met you and I started listening to the podcast, she goes, I started going back to listen to all of them. And she goes, right around 100, I stopped listening, going back. I said, why? She goes, because if you start from 1 and go up, you just hear yourselves getting better. I started hearing you guys getting worse. And I just had to stop. I'm like, hey, that's great point, dude.
That's great. That's totally fair. So Katrina listens to everything, but she doesn't listen to us answer questions.
Oh.
Yeah, her take, which I think, man, that's the gold in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's our expertise, our craft.
It becomes a bit predictive.
I'm most proud of that. Like when we get live calls, we don't prep for that. Like if the audience doesn't know, like we don't go study the question. Like literally, when that person gets on, I'm looking up. Now I see their email the moment they get on, but it's like that's the first time we ever looked at it. And we have to roll with it in the live air.
I think if you're a trainer, you listen to that. You'll learn. That's where you'll learn as a trainer.
Well, it's also, but
even for people who, we're probably going to talk to a person that's like you, and you'll get some advice.
Yeah. So I'm always surprised that I always tell her that. She's like, I feel like I know how you're going to answer everything. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Never mind. That's my craft. You know what I'm saying? And I worked decades to get good at that.
Yeah. That's great. Probiotics are awesome for you, but which one's the best? I have the answer. Seed. It's the world's best probiotic. Go to seed.com/mindpump. Use the code 25mindpump. Get 25% off. Back to the show. This segment of the podcast is brought to you by Mind Pump Fitness Coaching. This is the #1 course that teaches trainers and coaches how to build sustainable 6-figure plus businesses and careers in fitness. Look, it's roundtable based. So you can hear Adam, Justin, and myself teaching you how to build a better business, get more leads, close more deals, close bigger deals, and be more effective trainers. By the way, our course is nationally recognized. In fact, it gives you 1.9 CEUs with or for your NASM certification. Find out more at mindpumpfitnesscoaching.com.
Our first question is from Good Juju Gaines. What are 3 most important things you've learned about the world or people by working in this industry?
Wow, great question, Justin.
Yeah, right.
Good job, dude.
Did you pick that?
He did. Yeah. He picked all of them today.
I wasn't ready for something that heavy.
I know.
I could right away. I could tell you the first thing.
Oh, okay.
First thing to me is that people are very interesting and very different. And what I mean by that is, as a trainer, there are certain things that you think you know for sure when it comes to diet and exercise, and then you'll meet somebody it doesn't work with.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work with. And now, what does that mean at large? At large, I think that's true for a lot of things. Now, I think there are some truths, some hard truths out there, but there is such an individual variance with experience and reactions and history, to where, like, when you train and work with people, you really learn how to work with people. And there was a lot of carryover into the rest of my life with that, for sure.
I mean, this is a cool question, because I've thought about this a lot, and I gained a tremendous amount of patience and empathy for people's beliefs.
Totally.
So much of who we are and how strongly we feel about certain social, political views, religious view, all the things, is predicated on our childhood and our own trauma and all the things we went to. And it's so unique to that individual. And we're so quick as humans to hear somebody say something sharp or a stance on something and then immediately judge that person for how they believe or how they think, versus finding out about that person's history and their story and what led them to get to that conclusion. And there's so much gold to learn unpacking that, asking questions about, like, what makes you believe that, or what makes you think that way. And I learned so much that way. And I'm always really, always try and take pause to even when I have a knee-jerk reaction to something that's like totally appalling or so different than how I would think or opinion. It's like, oh wow, that person felt so strongly about that, and I totally disagree. I'm so curious to why, versus that is not the normal human reaction is defensive, argue, you're stupid, you're wrong, and like that, versus flipping that on its head and being curious about humans. And I think it really tells you a lot about our belief systems, our history.
Totally.
And I think there's a lot of gold in there. And so I can't nail down like an exact specific lesson, because there's so many that I think I've learned about myself through the lens.
You learn to appreciate a lot of different people.
That's so much, because you're stepping literally in somebody else's shoes and you're seeing through their perspective. And to add on kind of to that is, for me, peering into a little bit more too of like women's lives. And for me, like understanding, my partner and getting into greater depths conversationally with my wife, because it's like I have a different perspective now because I've asked so many questions and have been able to interact with somebody else that was a different sex than me and that has like different concerns and different way of looking at things. And it's like, and you could play that from, again, somebody with a different perspective, like politically or like, with their industry or their job, you just absorb so much.
That's a great one. Another one for me is that vulnerability encourages vulnerability. And so as a coach or a trainer, if you really care about helping people, which we did, right? We really loved it. We really loved helping people. And so you generally want to help someone. So you're always trying to figure out how you can help someone the best. And at some point I figured out that the key to being effective was to have them really trust me. That was the key. If they didn't trust me, then I don't care how smart I am or all the methods, it's not going to work. And the best way to do that was for them to be vulnerable. And the best way to do that was for me to be vulnerable. And so when I was open and vulnerable to this person, rather than presenting this perfect fitness trainer who knows everything, rather presenting myself as somebody who doesn't know everything. And yes, I understand fitness and health, but here are these issues that I'm challenged with that are kind of similar to what you're saying. It opened them up to that vulnerability, and then I became so much more effective as a trainer. Now, how does that apply to the world? Like,
oh my God.
You want to have friendships. Your friendship's only as deep as the vulnerability that you guys expose to each other. If you present yourself if you build a friendship with a layer of front, and you have that friendship for 5 years, it only goes that deep. It'll never go any deeper. And I learned that through training people.
That's such a good one. Just to piggyback off that, it is hard. It's because we all have, again, back to our childhood traumas and what we grew up with, we all have our own layer of complexity to this, the shield or front that we put on to protect our inner child. And in order to be really, and so does your client who's sitting across from you. And so in order to break through their wall to truly change their life and help them, you have to first do that with yourself. And if you can't do that, you'll only be so good of a trainer too. I don't care how much studies you know, how long you've been doing this for, how good your exercise science is.
They're not going to receive the information.
If you can't be fully vulnerable and open up to that person across from you, and put yourself out there, they never will, which will mean they'll only get such good results too. So such a good one. I think that's such a powerful thing to learn. So great question. So many deep thoughts on that.
I know we could go on and on about it.
Question 2 is from Jamie Voska. If you are still progressing in the program, should you still go to the next phase or stay in the same phase until you hit a plateau?
Yes. So I can make arguments for both sides. I get it. You're still progressing. Why, try to fix something that's not broken? But there is value to switching out before you hit a plateau, because once you hit a plateau, it's almost like you have to take a couple steps back to start moving forward again. Switching phases before you plateau keeps progress moving along more continuously, and it avoids, more importantly, injury potential. So phases tend to change exercises, change directions, and if you stay in the same thing for too long, you can start to develop movement pattern issues. So I could see the argument for both. I would say for somebody who's not super experienced, change the phase as the programs are laid out. For someone who's very experienced and knows their body, go ahead and push it a little bit, I would say.
I like this question because I remember I challenged this when we all first met, and Sal wanted to do primarily three-week phases, and I was actually more used to doing like 4 to 6 weeks. Most of the studies talk about 4 to 6 weeks of that process. But you made, I think, a good way of explaining it, an argument of like, we want to transition them before they hit that plateau. So yeah, somebody else, you might be able to stay in a phase and continue to see great progress weeks 4 or 5, maybe even into 6. But we know you're going to get good adaptation. We're going to get good progress through 3. And if we switch it, we're going to keep that momentum, that versus letting the momentum slow down and then having to restart it up again. Yeah. And so you're keeping that momentum going. So, and I've told clients before that are like really loving a phase, like, yeah, we can extend it another week. Yeah, extending another week or 2 is probably it's not going to hurt you or be bad. But the philosophy behind the MAPS programming of transitioning people every 3 weeks was the argument.
It's also psychological training.
Yeah, that's true. That's another good point, right? It's keeping it moving and changing for them. It's like, it's different. My focus is different now. It's like at that 3 week mark, you're just getting good, getting excited about it. It's like, hey, let's transition to a new one.
Well, and I think it fits with our overall philosophy anyway of trying to introduce people to the depth of, what they can experience with fitness instead of it just being like this initial goal that they had coming into it, like, experiencing the full breadth of it. And to do that, like transitioning, it's always going to be ripping the Band-Aid. It's always going to be, if I'm really enjoying something, like, why do I have to like move on to the next thing?
Yeah.
And so to just train your mind to kind of get into that rhythm of it and stay ahead of it, I think there's value to that.
Yeah.
Next question is from Brian St. Louis 28. What is a good workout routine for a 36-year-old female to help with osteopenia?
So there's 2 things happening here if you're 36 with osteopenia. Now, the form of exercise is going to help best with this is strength training, traditional strength training. Among our programs, MAPS Anabolic would be great, especially phase 1 and 2 for helping the best. But typically when you see a 36-year-old with osteopenia, it's both a combination of inactivity and undereating. And years and years and years of
malnutrition,
chronic
and or overtraining with that too, right?
And you'll see this with women who struggle with things like anorexia or bulimia. So you have to strength train, but you have to feed your body because you can strength train. This woman could strength train perfectly
and go the other way.
But she doesn't feed herself properly, she's going to continue to experience bone loss. So you have to eat enough calories, enough protein. And I mean, like, you got to eat a calorie surplus, hit your protein targets, get stronger. If you're getting stronger, then you can bet your bones are getting stronger.
Well, I'm going to give even more specific advice to our MAPS program. You don't need a crazy big volume program. No. MAPS 15
would have been fine.
Yeah, MAPS 15 is plenty of volume for you as far as a workout routine. That's great. The focus is on the nutrition. Hit that protein intake, eating a calorie surplus while doing a MAPS 15. That's going to reverse it. A mistake someone could make is not increasing calories, doing a MAPS anabolic or a MAPS aesthetic that has a lot of volume, a lot of intensity, and still under eating. you're not going to see the results.
No, they'll still see bone
Yeah,
loss.
yeah. So mass 15, calorie surplus.
Last question is from Fit for Running. What are the best stretches for sciatic issues?
Pigeon pose is great,
piriformis.
or seated cross-legged, where you put your ankle on your leg here, sit up real tall, come forward. Yeah, I mean, you essentially want to stretch your glute piriformis muscle, and that'll help. Because what happens with sciatic issues is oftentimes, not always, but you'll have tightness in the piriformis muscle, which is a small muscle underneath the glute, and it presses on the sciatica nerve. And so you'll feel this nerve pain. Another thing you could do is sit this cross-legged thing and use a foam roller and lean on that side.
Get real nasty, get a little crossball in there.
I believe we have at least 2 or 3 great videos on Mind Pump TV that's specific to this.
Yes.
That you've done and I think I've done. So I think, and I don't even know if you might have done one
By
too.
the way, I'm going to say this right now. This was a problem that 9 out of 10 times I could solve with the client.
Oh, yeah.
9 out of 10 times, if a client came to me with chronic sciatic issues, within weeks we would solve it just from doing the things we talked about.
Go to Mind Pump TV and look up literally sciatic issues, Mind Pump TV.
All right, I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. How strong should you be? Ever wonder if you're actually strong, or at least compared to people like yourself? Today's episode, we're going to talk about